Hello children. Today we are supposed to discuss session 7 from the chapter Income from House Property. Under this session I would like to discuss about few deductions. The first information which I would like to share with you is about the municipal taxes. What are these municipal taxes? Municipal taxes includes house tax, service tax and local tax, etc. And municipal taxes are basically levied by any local authority in respect of the house property. So municipal taxes are levied by the local authority and they are levied on the house property, and only if these municipal taxes are paid by the SSC during the previous year, let it be the earlier years, current year or coming years, only if they are paid by the SSC they are deductible. If they are not borne and if they are not paid by the SSC, that is the owner, during the previous year, then they are not eligible to be deducted. I repeat, municipal taxes like house tax, service tax, etc. levied by the local authority in respect of the house property are deductible only if they are borne and paid by the owner during the previous year. It doesn't matter whether the tax relates to the earlier years, current years or the coming years. Coming to the standard deduction under section 24 subsection A. Deductions under section 24 subsection A. Now here two deductions are allowed from the net annual value. Two deductions will be allowed from the net annual value to arrive at the taxable income under the head income from house property. It has to be borne in the mind that deductions mentioned here are exhaustive and no other deductions are allowed. The deductions which are basically admissible are, first of all, you have standard deduction. Standard deduction under section 24 subsection A. So here 30% of net asset value is deductible irrespective of any expenditure incurred by the SSC. So the first deduction which is supposed to be provided is the standard deduction, and that is under section 24 subsection A. And here 30% of the net asset value is deductible irrespective of any expenditure incurred by the SSC. Thus, no deduction can be claimed in respect of expenses as if he has paid insurance, any ground rent, any land revenue, if he has incurred any repairs, if he has incurred any collection charges or paid electricity or water charges or salary to the liftman. So here all these expenses, even if he has borne it, even if the SSC has borne it, even if the owner of the asset has borne it, nothing is considered other than except 30% of the net asset value calculated is deductible irrespective of any expenditure incurred by the SSC. This is the standard deduction under section 24 subsection A. Coming to the second deduction, that is interest on borrowed capital. Interest on deduction pertaining to interest on borrowed capital is given under section 24 subsection B. Interest on borrowed capital is allowed as deduction if capital is borrowed for the purpose of purchase, construction, repair, renewal or reconstruction of the property. As discussed previously, that interest on borrowed capital is allowed only if the capital is borrowed only for the sake of purchase of the house property, construction of the house property, repair and renewal of the house property or reconstruction of the house property. So interest on borrowed capital will be allowed only if all these expenses have been incurred. Coming to the first point here, interest on borrowed capital is deductible on accrual basis if loan is borrowed for purchase, construction, repair, renewal or reconstruction of the property. So it is very important to bear in the mind that interest on capital is deducted only on the accrual basis. Next, interest on unpaid interest is not deductible. So it is very important to bear in the mind that if you have any unpaid interest and interest on unpaid interest is not deducted under section 24 subsection B. Third point, interest on a fresh loan taken to repay the original loan is allowable as deduction if the owner of the house property or the SSC has taken a fresh loan and the main intention behind taking the fresh loan is to repay the original loan, and in such case interest on the fresh loan is allowable as deduction. Coming to the fourth point, interest on loan payable outside India without TDS is not deductible. If any interest is paid outside India without TDS is not deductible under the head income from house property, is not provided as a deduction. Next point, in case of let out property, interest on loan is fully deductible without any maximum limit. So if the property is let out property, if the property is let out property and interest on loan is fully deductible without any maximum limit. Next point, previous year interest refers to interest on outstanding loan of the relevant previous year. So whatever the previous year interest is there, that refers to the interest on outstanding loan of the relevant previous year. Next you have pre-completion period interest, refers to interest for pre-completion period. Here there are two subpoints. If loan is repaid after the completion of the construction of the house, the pre-construction period commences from the date of borrowing and ends on 31st March immediately preceding the date of completion of the house. Next point, if loan is repaid before the completion of the construction of the house and pre-construction period commences from the date of borrowing and ends on the date of repayment of the loan. So this is very important point to be noted here. Next, coming to deemed to be let out property. What is deemed to be let out property? Where the SSC has more than one self-occupied property, only one house whose gross annual value is higher will be assessed as self-occupied property, and the remaining properties will be treated as let out properties and assessed accordingly. Such properties are called as deemed to be let out properties. Here it only means that there are many situations wherein assessees will be having more than one properties which are self-occupied. So whatever the property that is self-occupied whose gross annual value is higher when compared to other self-occupied properties will be considered as self-occupied property and it will be assessed to tax. The remaining properties will be treated as let out properties and they are assessed accordingly. Such properties are called deemed to be let out properties. Next, here you have a format for computing taxable income for deemed to let out properties. Next you have partly let out and partly self-occupied, portion let out and portion self-occupied. So here you have there are situations wherein there is a property and out of that maybe 50% is self-occupied and 50% is being utilized for, it is being let out for others. In such situations what you are supposed to do? First of all, the portion which is self-occupied will not be taxable, but interest on loan is deductible up to the maximum limit. So here point to be noted here, the portion of the property that is self-occupied is not taxable under the head income from house property, but the interest on loan is deductible up to the maximum limit. As discussed, it's 1,50,000. Next you have the portion which is let out is taxable. Its taxable will be computed as if the portion is let out. So the portion that is being let out will be taxable. Next, period let out and period self-occupied. No concession is available for the property during which it is self-occupied. The house will be taken as let out property. So today in the session 7 I have discussed about the deductions which are supposed to be given while calculating the taxable income under the head income from house property. Thank you.